Carroll bringing it forward. Thompson's making the run. Carroll hangs on to it though. Still Davy Carroll. Could go all the way here. Oh, what a goal!
Hola amigos and welcome to this week's Ringing the Blues, your podcast dedicated to the mighty Wycombe Wanderers. On this week's show we have all the action and reaction from the Chairboys clash with Pompey at Adams Park, and as it's International Week we catch up with former Canada player and Chairboy Mark Rogers. Plus, I met Wycombe fan Dom Bingham at the recent Hartlepool FA Cup side, which he predicted would take place before the draw even happened. But first, let's head to Mexico City for the results and some essential Chairboys Spanish with Uri.
We are ringing the blues from Mexico City. Mi nombre es Uri, and here are the results for League One. Accrington Stanley 1, Plymouth Argyle 4, Burton Albion 0, Charlton Athletic 1, Ipswich Town 0, Oxford United 0, MK Dons 4, Cambridge United 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Gillingham 1, Wycombe Wanderers 0, Portsmouth 1. That was unbelievable. 20 shots on goal and none got in. So, Chairboy Spanish this week, throw the kitchen sink at it. You know the meaning of the expression? It became popular during World War II, where it was said that everything but the kitchen sink was thrown at the enemy. Wycombe threw everything but the kitchen sink at Portsmouth. So, Chairboy Spanish, kitchen, cocina, cocina, kitchen, sink, fregadero, sink, fregadero. So, kitchen sink, el fregadero de la cocina. Le aventamos todo a Portsmouth, nada entró, nothing got in. So, we lost 1-0. Chairboy Spanish this week, and until next time, back to England with my amigo Phil Catchpole. Adios.
Portsmouth were the visitors to Adams Park on Saturday, and they were looking for their first away win since the opening day of the season. Here's what happened.
I've always said home form's really key to a successful team, and looking forward to this one. And I'm seeing hopefully a good crowd on a Saturday afternoon against Portsmouth, which has always been a good occasion for Wycombe.
Ball into the box, now Wycombe are claiming a penalty, and the referee's given it at the other end. Well, that one is more of a penalty for me, because Mehmeti just got absolutely smashed in the face. Jacobson then for Wycombe Wanderers in this first half against Portsmouth. Joe Jacobson will miss because the goalkeeper saved it straight at him, and Alex Bass saves. Ball played forwards, and is that onside? It is. Hurst is away now into the box. Hurst, square pass. There's Harness. Harness scores. Portsmouth get the goal. Harness, I think, trying to shoot first time, and he got a little bit lucky, but it went into his path. And at the second attempt, he finished it. It's Wycombe 0, Portsmouth 1.
Gareth, we said it was going to be blood and thunder. It certainly was, and you've come out on the wrong end of a narrow margin there.
Yeah, but do you know what? We've had 21 shots at their goal. We've never done that to Portsmouth before. I think it shows where we've come. Yeah, we've had the best chances today. We've had the better chances than they have. We didn't take them. We didn't take them. We've hit the post twice. We've missed a penalty. So it's not all doom and gloom. Everyone look at the result and be down, but the chances we've created are numerous, and we've just got to stick one in, and it's a whole different game. It's tough, but for me, you look at the big picture as always, and to do that to a Portsmouth team, I think shows how far Wycombe have come, or our Portsmouth not what they were, and that's the question you've got to ask. But I think it's the former. I think it shows how far Wycombe have come. You know, we're better than we've ever been. We keep playing like that. We keep doing that to teams. We're going to score goals. Somebody's going to get a battering. But unfortunately today, Portsmouth caught us on some counter-attacks, and that's how they scored their goal, you know, on a counter-attack, which we're wide open on that, and that needs work. But no, pleased with the boys again, and great to see this place full. We're going to get used to that. We're going to get used to these big games because we're a big scalp for people now, and that's a real positive for me.
Pompey had a real spell in the game at the start of the second half. Was that frustrating that it came then? Yeah,
of course it was. You know, I said to the boys, look, for the first half, I don't think Pompey had much at all. We dominated it, the penalty, with the post, numerous shots, and then all teams are going to have a spell. All teams will have a spell. I don't care who you are, you're going to have a 5 or 10 minutes. They didn't actually score in their 5 or 10 minutes. They scored just after that in a counter-attack. But at the end there, they're hanging on, and again, it's a great performance, not a great result. We gotta stick the ball in the net when we get our chances, because we're creating 20 plus chances a game. I remember 3s and 4s at games and 0 on target, you know, in a couple of games, and that was worrying back in the day. But now I'm happy, and I wanted something out of today's game, but we don't fear anyone in this league.
I think Wycombe have maybe used up their late goal allowance recently.
I don't know. We'll see, but there are 1 or 2 there. I think for me, there's another penalty in there, and the ref doesn't give it because he's already given us one, and he didn't give them one. I think theirs is a penalty. I think ours is a penalty, and I think there's another one to us in there. You know, it's just tough. You know, I think the referees can almost think they've given us one, they can't give us 2, but you can. You know, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty, and the challenge on Brandon Hanlon on the edge of the box as well. I don't know how that's not a free kick, but you know, we'll go again on Tuesday. We're going to be strong in the FA Cup because I want to win that. I want to get back to winning ways, and then we've got a run of games here and away. Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday coming up, big games. Hoping to get Gareth back soon, Daryl Horgan coming back, and Sully Kaikai, you know, and like I say, but it wasn't anything to do with that. We created a lot of chances, just didn't stick them in the net today.
There's a bit of a winless run now in all comps. Is that a concern?
No, not at all. No, I've been on worse runs than this, believe me. Performances is what I'm about, and I always will be, and I know it'll come.
And Wycombe fans will be linking that run starting when Gareth McCleary got injured.
Yeah, of course. Gareth gives us an X factor. We know he's one of our players who are better than this level, you know, without a doubt. When he gets on the ball, things happen, and he's a big loss at the moment. But we've got to step up because, like I say, you know, how we haven't scored today is beyond me. But sometimes that happens, and you've got to keep a clean sheet. Then would have took a 0-0 and thought, wow, we're unlucky with not chances. But you know, they've got a sucker punch really, and you know, they've sort of smash and grab on Wycombe today. But that, for someone like Portsmouth to come and do that here, like I say, it shows what a club we are now and how much respect we've got.
FA Cup replay Tuesday night, League 2 Hartlepool in town, and you've said that you want to put a strong team out. Is it an opportunity as well to kind of hopefully get some confidence in front of goal?
Well, you know, we do it in training every day. That's where they get the confidence. We've not hit the target at times when we should today, and the keeper's made a fantastic save, and the woodwork's cost us twice, and the keeper's saved the penalty. There's all sorts gone on today that you can't just reflect on the result. Go back and watch the whole performance. It's good enough to win a game. That'll turn some lower teams over in this league, but today we wasn't good enough, and we have to put that right next game.
And the tactical change in the second half, it brought about the chances and turned the tide in terms of possession. Are you pleased about that?
Yeah, I mean, we had loads of chances first half, you know, with the formation we had, but the tactical change second half, you know, you put Bayo on, and he's always going to bring something to a game. I thought Dave Wheeler as well made a big impact, but no, we just couldn't get it in the net today, and that happens sometimes, but it'll go the other way too. Don't worry about that.
Jason, back-to-back defeats in the league now at Adams Park. That was a frustrating one today.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I didn't think we played bad today. I think we weren't great when we came out in the second half, I thought, for 15-20 minutes. And obviously they scored. I think we have to keep it at 0. I think if we keep it at 0, that you get kitchen sink stuff at the end, like I mean, we've hit the post twice, I think, in the game. The goalie's made a couple of great saves. We've obviously missed a penalty, which happens. But you're going to get days like that in football, and I think we just got to keep out the nil. If we come away 0-0, okay, it is what it is. Obviously, we'll look at the goal. But no, it's disappointing. Not going to hide from that. But we've got a game on Tuesday, and we've got a couple of games coming up now. We've got a very busy schedule, so which is good, so we can rectify it.
What's been said in the dressing room about that slow start to the second half? Because Wycombe were well on top in the first.
Yeah, we addressed it. Obviously, not much can be really said sometimes straight after a game. Sometimes you need to look at the video, and we'll do that. And yeah, we've addressed it. We could see it, and I think we have to see that period out. Sometimes teams are going to have a spell, and you just have to see it out. And I don't know whether we were dropping too deep or what, but yeah, we did speak about it.
Wycombe have scored a few late goals here this season. You were a lick of paint away from adding to that total.
I know, yeah. I don't think we could have done much more, if I'm being honest. I think it felt, you had that feeling. I think everyone could probably feel it in the ground that it was coming. It just didn't today. The goalie made a couple of great saves. There was some really good last-ditch defending from them. I think our quality was good, I think, and we were recycling the ball well. Maybe our long balls forward could have been a bit better. But yeah, on another day I think it goes in, and maybe even two, and we come away with a win.
Yeah, left foot shot off the post, and then the rebound fell to you as well, and I think everyone then thought this is it. I
know, yeah. I was off balance with the rebound, but yeah, when he's clearing it off the line, I'm head in my hands, I'm going, you are joking, and Bayer's telling me to get up. So yeah, I thought that might have been the moment, but it wasn't to be. Fair play to Portsmouth. Like I said, their last ditch defending was really, really good. We've got to play them again, which we'll look forward to, and hopefully we can get one back.
Pompey fans have done their research. You got a warm welcome from them?
I have every time, if I'm being honest. Yeah, obviously it doesn't help with my Southampton roots, and yeah, they had some fun with that today. Fair play, you know. All right, they got the win, and yeah, I'll take it on the chin. I don't mind stuff like that. You know, that's what football's all about. So, no, fair play to them.
FA Cup on Tuesday, a chance to get this result out of the system.
Exactly, and like I alluded to earlier, it's good that we've got another game quickly, and we'll be looking to win on Tuesday. And whatever team the gaffer puts out, everyone will be raring to go, and we're looking to get through to the next round.
The Pompey Vans were in fine voice throughout the game and were pretty cheerful after the final whistle too. It's the opposition view. Lewis Pete.
Wow, sometimes a football match just has everything. What a game, and what an amazing performance. The best under Danny Cowley so far.
Gav H.
Oh my God, what a last 10 minutes. That is the grit and determination we want to see every week. Absolutely brilliant result from Pompey. Can't believe we won that. So effing happy.
Mike Briscoe.
Oh, great win. We definitely deserve that. Whilst it wasn't the best display you'll see, defensively we were brilliant. You can see why Wycombe are doing so well this season. They have a very strong, physical, athletic team who are quick and powerful in and out of possession. Brilliant win for us. I really hope it gives our players the confidence they need to go forward. Play up, Pompey!
Anthony Hess.
We've won away, we've won away. Fantastic battling performance from Pompey this afternoon. Best atmosphere away from home for some time, and loved playing them at their own game.
Big Pompey Dave.
Oh, excellent team performance, showing that the squad may yet be pulling together for the Cowleys. The players fought to the end there, and it was a full-on onslaught for the last 15. Bass, Rags, Harness and Thompson were all superb.
Briefcase Wancher.
Ooh, despite the sphincter twitching, that was one of the most enjoyable games I've watched Pompey play in a long time.
Firk days.
Everything we all hoped for, finally. A new strike force, a dynamic belief, resilience to the nth degree. This could be the start of Pompey's assault on the table. With fingers crossed, we witness it all today. Growing confidence, team spirit in bucket loads, and belief. Brilliant support too from the Blue Army, from start to finish.
Luke Ellis.
Oh, what a great win today. Cowleys and the players are starting to make some fans eat humble pie. 6 unbeaten now. I love that Wycombe called it on, thinking we'd be easy pickings. That was all the motivation we needed.
Lothar Matthäus 2.
Wycombe thought they'd do us without even trying today, but we turned up and showed we're still here. That's despite playing off the reserves.
Dave Howes, PFC.
Over a year ago, my ex ditched me for a Wycombe fan. Today, the football club I've supported my entire life took that personally. Up the Blues!
Wycombe Wanderers have had 10 players who were also full internationals and represented their countries during their time at Adams Park. Can you name all 10 and also the countries they represented? 1 point for each. I'll start you off by naming the first player to do so, and according to a Twitter poll last year, he's the most popular Canadian soccer player of all time. It's Mark Rogers, everybody, and he's on the line now. Ted, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very, very good indeed. You know, how does it feel to hear that you were, or to learn last year that you are the most popular Canadian soccer player of all time?
Well, I think the Wycombe faithful has something to do with that, Phil. It was a poll done during COVID, and I was up against Alphonso Davies, who you probably know is not bad at football now. And let's just say the Wycombe faithful showed up and had my back. I think a quick Wycombe text, vote for Ted, had something to do with it. Sure, I have some following here for sure, but I think a big thank you to the Wycombe fans for that outcome. I'll give you that.
Don't underplay this, Ted, because, you know, Alphonso Davies, yes, he plays for Bayern Munich. Yes, he's been in the FIFA Pro Men's World 11 and he's a fantastic left-back. But can he do it on a Tuesday night replay away at Grimsby in the winter? That's the question, Ted.
Exactly. And I think we all know the answer to that, Phil. I'll leave that unsaid. He's... want to talk about a fantastic player. I don't know if he'd fancy an away trip to Grimsby, but I don't know if we'll ever find that out either, Phil. I have a funny feeling that will never happen.
Well, I think it should be a true matrix of testing a player's ability. You know, Messi, Ronaldo, they should all be made to go to Grimsby on a Tuesday night in an FA Cup replay, and only then can we really gauge who is the best. We're in the international break, and you know we're talking about you playing for Canada. I mean, when were you representing Canada? Just for our younger fans who aren't aware of your time.
Yeah, I think my first call up was in 1999. And I played sort of through to about 2004, sporadically here and there, and played in one Gold Cup in 2001 and came third in that tournament, having lost to the United States on penalties in the semifinal, which sucked. But as far as the outcome of that tournament was great because we beat a South Korea team. A little bit of context. In the third place game, Gus Hiddink was the manager, and as you guys will all know, they hosted the World Cup 6 months later and came fourth at that. So that turns out that was a good result. At the time, we weren't too, doing somersaults that we beat South Korea in the third place game, but looks good now.
And football in Canada has really gone from strength to strength since then. Why is that?
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on, but I think there are a number of things. One, there's far more comprehensive training for young players. Oversight's better. Our coaching's better. But also we have the MLS teams, so Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto have all joined MLS since then, and have comprehensive youth training programming. So, starting at under 13 age, the best players from those regions are centralized and they train together and play against talent of that level. I think that really helps. We've also had the Canadian Premier League, which is our own newly formed league, which is in its third year of existence, giving more and more opportunities to young players. But also, I think, Phil, it's just for our real top players, the Alphonso Davies, the Jonathan Davids, the Buchanans. These are top young players, and I just think that exposure is just so much better now. Since my time playing, these kids are aware of opportunities overseas and in Europe. The European clubs are aware of the talent we have here more. And I think it's just all those things coming together, really highlighting the talent we have here. And they're putting it on display. And, although during my time, we did actually have a decent Canadian team. We won our regional tournament called the Gold Cup. And then I played in the team that came third. That's a decent accomplishment. But this is a different team now, Phil. The attacking talent in this team especially possibly could replace some of the defending from our generation would really, really help this team. But from an attacking talent standpoint, there's some excellent players in this team. And I got to be honest, I sat with my son and his team the other night watching them play Costa Rica and having a pizza. And, it's just brings so much joy to me to see how far we've come as a soccer nation. So, yeah, it's exciting times for Canadian soccer, that's for sure.
Yeah, decent result against Costa Rica as well. And what's your involvement in the game now, Mark? You still coaching and stuff?
Yeah, well, I've made just over the last few months made a big life transition. I had been, as you know, I think last time I spoke to you, Phil, been doing coach facilitation for the Canadian Soccer Association, so working with our top coaches across Western Canada, and helping them get their certification and working through their education, working locally in community-based soccer in my old hometown. A variety of levels of the game, doing media work around the Vancouver Whitecaps and MLS. But recently, I've actually made a transition out of soccer, and it's just a life change. I want to maybe spend a little more time with my family because it can take up your whole life when you're working in football, as I'm sure your listeners may or may not understand. The Gareth Ainsworth, the amount of commitment he'll put into that Wycombe team is it's shocking how many hours they put into it. So I wanted to claw back a little bit of that time with my family, and I've moved on to a new career over the last couple months. And it is a big change for me, but I'm really excited because when I do go, like I am right now, sitting in my truck in the pissing rain on the side of a field, waiting to go watch my son, I'm wholly there just to go watch him play. And that's a nice change for me.
Oh, but I remember just before the pandemic hit, we were sort of messaging and calling each other because you were going to be in the UK with your son and a team, weren't you, to come and spend some time and come and see Wycombe, come up to the training ground. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, that never got to happen.
Oh, it was a disaster. I think, we'd planned for a year and a half for that trip. Unfortunately, and, as we led up to it, I think if you cast your mind back, Phil, things were not very good in Italy, and there was some concern what's going to happen in England. And literally, while we were on we risked it, and we thought, maybe we'll get lucky here. And on the flight over, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz and the NBA tested positive, and then Mikel Arteta tested positive like the day we arrived. They shut the Premier League down, which of course was unprecedented at that time. And we were left without any games to watch or games to play. So, of course, there was anxiety from back home to get home. So we literally, Sam and I and a lot of the other families all just tried to get home as quick as possible. Our Prime Minister was calling for a return for Canadians to return home. And, it was obviously not the trip or outcome we were looking for, but I guess global pandemics will cause that kind of chaos. But I was really looking forward to that. We planned it around having the opportunity to come watch, Oxford Wycombe, which would be a great game at Adams Park, seeing a number, Pete and Matt and a bunch of my old teammates would have been fantastic. And, obviously to take my son and my nephew and my brother to see what that atmosphere is like and to enjoy it, especially at a time when Wycombe's doing so well, would have been fantastic. But looking forward and keeping things positive, I'm looking forward to the next trip. And we're already talking with my wife about the next time we're going to get an opportunity to come over. And, of course, it'll revolve around football season, as you'd probably expect. So watch this space, as they say. I'm going to be planning that trip sometime shortly.
Well, fingers crossed we get to see you over here soon. And does your new career give you enough time to keep following Wycombe Wanderers online as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I work at Vancouver Airport. I'm the senior director of operations there, and it's a lot of hours and hard work. But the only difficulty, Phil, is match days, because I'm usually driving at halftime, having to jump in my truck to get to a youth soccer game. So I'm watch the first half, and then I'm following it on my phone, and and as they don't mind a late goal or a 9 minutes into injury time goal at Wycombe Wanderers. So it is challenging sometimes, but I definitely follow them every game and watch them week to week. My son's a big fan, which is really cool to see, especially right now where they're doing some pretty amazing things. So yeah, I do follow it. It does afford me time, probably more time than I had before. So it's good.
And what did you make of that time in the Championship? I mean, it was a crazy time, really, to be a Wycombe Wanderers fan. A, because of the pandemic, and B, because they got into the second tier of English football, which, for a chairboy like me, who's in their 40s, when they first started going there in the Isthmian League, it was pretty mind-blowing. Did people in Canada appreciate just what a big achievement that was?
Oh, they did. They certainly did. And especially in my bubble where everybody follows Wycombe, thought that it was just an astonishing accomplishment. I'm not surprised, because this team seems to do that with frequency. So it's part of their culture. Obviously it's been a part of the fabric of that place since I was there. The FA Cup semifinal, and then after I'd left, the League Cup semifinal. This is just something Wycombe Wanderers do. But obviously we'd all love to have been there and watch those games, Phil. That's the only disappointment. But I think it's tinged with pride. I think everybody's proud of what they've accomplished, what they did that season. When things looked so doom and gloom, and how they finished that season as well showed so much character. They went after, they knew it was a massive challenge. And, for a club that size to really, actually, I think we all agree they should still be playing in that league, but we'll leave that for another conversation. But the way they went after that, to stay at that level of play, just showed what they're all about. And, so much pride to have been associated with that club and continue to be. And I think we can expect even bigger things this season as they go for another promotion.
That's going to be my next question. I mean, the last couple of results have been a bit sticky, but can Wycombe get back at the first time of asking?
I've done this radio game. You see that segue I just did for you there, Phil? You like that?
Absolutely beautiful, Ted. You're a pro.
No, listen, I think they can. I know they're going through a difficult time right now, but what I just said is what they're about. The teams that go and get promoted is they minimize those windows where they're having a difficult time, whether it's through injury, fatigue, lack of performance. Once you get to this time of the season, there's still a lot of season to go, but you can start getting tired at this. They played a lot of football already. So I think the good teams, and I'd put Wycombe as one of them, really minimize the amount of damage those poor runs of form do hurt them in the league table. So I'd expect to see them come good sooner rather than later. But yeah, they're going through a sticky patch. Every team in the league, and every once in a while you have a blip where a team doesn't have a sticky patch. But more often than not, even the top teams have a difficult period of time that they have to fight through. And it's just the amount of time and the amount of games that they can churn through without it adversely affecting their position at the end of the season. So I'd expect them to come good sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans will recognise that, saying, teams will all have a blip, they'll all have a tough spell. As a player, when you're a professional player, how do you get through that? As a unit, as a team, you must all look at each other and think, wow, this isn't going our way. How do you get out of that?
It is. It's much more difficult than you think. I think if you have trust and respect in the dressing room, that's not to say you're all best buddies, because that's not the way professional football is, but that you respect the effort that everybody's putting into their performance, and you can look around the dressing room and know that that guy across the room is putting every bit of himself into getting that result on the weekend or midweek that I am, then there's a level of trust that's built in that room. And once you have that trust, when you're having a difficult time, there's less finger pointing, less blame, and you're really just as a group trying to solve that issue. You're really thinking forward. You're accepting the challenges with open eyes, and you're looking to solve those issues as a group. The ones that have longer, more challenging blips really are groups that, in these moments of vulnerability, look and point the finger. It's not my fault. I'm playing well. What's going on with him? What's the manager's doing? What's the decision making? Or just start looking for peripheral items to start to highlight. And as you know, any one game, Phil, any person can find 50 excuses not to perform. It's bad weather. It's the ref. It's the manager. The fans are on my back. And the good teams just simply focus on the things that matter, the challenges that face them. I know that's the culture of this club because they punch above their weight so often. And they'll be looking at solutions and ways to improve as a group and not just focusing on individual performance. And I think that's something Gareth has developed within that club. And it's not just Gareth, it's the club as a whole. And does that paint the picture for you? I think that's pretty much what happens and defines the good teams from the not so good teams.
Well, it's always good to get the insight of someone who's been there and done it. And Wycombe have got a chance to get back to winning ways on Tuesday. And it's an FA Cup replay, which brings us to our other favourite conversation when it comes to Mark Rogers and Wycombe Wanderers. An FA Cup first round replay. And you never know where that could lead to. Well, we know what will happen if they win Tuesday. It's another away tie at Lincoln City if they can beat Hartlepool on Tuesday night. But the FA Cup, it's still magic here, isn't it, in the UK? And, I think Wycombe fans would love to be able to get a decent run. Although I think if you offered Wycombe fans promotion at the end of the season and they'd lose on Tuesday night, they'd probably snap your hand off for that. But I think the Wycombe fans would love an FA Cup run as well. And you were part of that team that took Wycombe to the semi-final of the most famous cup competition in the world. And those early stages, we mentioned the Grimsby game earlier. That was a replay. Was that a second round replay? I'm struggling to remember now. Second round, I think it was.
It was a third round.
Third round replay. Was so long ago. Game, yeah. But yeah, those games were magic as well, weren't they?
Oh, fantastic. I know we did a replay against Millwall in the round before, which obviously was a challenge. Came away with a result at the Den, which was really good. And then as we got into the Grimsby game, it wasn't until after that I found out that was the furthest when we got to the fourth round that we'd ever been. That Wycombe Wanderers it was the first time at that stage that they'd ever been to the fourth round of the Cup. Which, having participated in the game and scored a rare goal in that replay away at Grimsby was a hell of a good feeling. Now, obviously, people will think, Grimsby Town, but at that stage, they were actually quite a strong championship club, as you'll recall, Phil. So that was a big upset. Once you start getting on a roll, the FA Cup is unlike any league game. It's hard to put your finger on. It's just, I think teams just go out. There's nothing to lose. If you're eliminated, if you're Wycombe Wanderers, it's not unheard of, especially when you're playing championship clubs or at that time Division 1 teams. But when you go out to go play, you just go to go attack and win the game. And I think it creates just a wonderful open atmosphere generally. And, that was certainly what we were like, and I'm sure it's still the same. Going away to Hartlepool would be one where you're like, we'll get a result there. But as you know, that's not the way the Cup works. And getting that being down 2-0 and coming back was really, really good for them. And now they bring them back to Adams Park. If they win that game, which I expect they will, going to Lincoln City, they'll feel confident. But yeah, that's not an easy place to go and get a result. But I have a funny feeling Wycombe, just because they've done this so often now, it almost becomes the expectation that they'll overcome the odds. And I think that's probably my favorite part of supporting Wycombe Wanderers is that it does bring a smile to your face when they, little things. I know they lost to Man City, but the fact they went 1-0 up, I love that about Wycombe, and let's hope it continues.
I was reading the Gastrum the other week, and they were talking about that Grimsby Town replay, how the coach ride up there, that games are getting called off all around the country because of the weather, but somehow that game survived and Wycombe got through. And like you said, the furthest they've ever been in the competition. And, Tuesday night, apparently that coach ride back, I wasn't on it, but I wish I was. They were saying that coach ride back was unbelievable. And someone mentioned that, I think your wife was on that coach on the way back with the supporters. Is that right?
Actually, when my wife was on the coach was actually after the Millwall game. Let's just say the Millwall supporters weren't terribly happy that we'd taken them out at the Den, and no cabs would come down to the Den to pick her up. There were some challenges outside of the ground, let's just say, after that game with their supporters, and so we left very little options for a few of the wives and girlfriends than to get on the coach. And I think it was the only time that happened during my whole stay at Wycombe. But we had to have an escort, as you'd expect when you play away at Millwall, back to a hotel at Tower Bridge. And so once we got there, we could get settled and sorted out. But it was a little bit of an eye opener for my wife, a girl from North Vancouver. Sort of seeing that kind of craziness outside of a ground. So, it's not like going to a Vancouver Canucks hockey game where there's never any of that, So, but no, that was an interesting experience. Let's just say anytime you go and play away at Millwall is an interesting experience. But the Grimsby game was, yes, go ahead, Phil.
I've been to the ice hockey and the violence happens on the pitch, but on the rink.
Yeah, we leave it to the guys on the ice to do it in hockey. But yeah, that's one of the great parts of English football is that how close the grounds are, how tribal it is, and it can boil over sometimes, as you know, Phil. But for, like I said, for a girl from North Vancouver was probably like this is not what I signed up for. But anyways, the FA Cup, getting back to that, and after that game, once I'd been informed that was the furthest we've been, you don't realize in those moments, Phil, that you'll be on a call 20 years later to talk about those moments, and that is kind of the cool part of having been a part of that group, is to get a chance to talk to people like yourself about those moments and share those stories with the Wycombe fans. And it is a kind of, it puts a smile on your face to know that you had the opportunity to be a part of a special group.
Well, you'll probably be getting a phone call from me in about 20 years as well, and we'll talk about it a bit more then too. It's one of those great moments of history for this famous club. Now, I set the challenge earlier for our listeners because you're part of an elite group of 10 players who've represented their countries whilst being a Wycombe Wanderers player. I'm going to throw this open to you as well to see what your Wycombe knowledge is like. Can you remember any of the other players? You did it in 2002. It wasn't for 5 years after that, the next one. But there's 9 others, including yourself. Can you name any of them?
I think I can name a couple, but let's not get too crazy. Jermaine Easter, I recall, had played for Wales, right?
Yeah, he was the next one in 2007, so we'll tick that one off.
Kevin Betsy.
Yeah, an extra bonus point here if you can name the country he represented.
Isn't it St. Kitts or something like that?
No, the Seychelles.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, not at all. I mean, you're doing well here.
Oh, I've got two.
We can leave the others for the listeners, but you've given them a good start.
Yeah, I think I headed too many footballs, Phil. My memory isn't like it used to be. But no, we'll leave it at 2.
Yeah, well, you're part of an elite group because there's 10 players there, and I'm sure there'll be more to come in the future as well. But you were the first, and that will never change. That's always going to be part of the club's history. In fact, it's painted on a very fancy wooden board just outside the boardroom. Your name's up there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's one of those things that you don't really think about at the time. You're obviously proud to represent your country, and the fact you're doing it at Wycombe, because like I used to say when I was at Wycombe, I'm not playing for Canada if I'm not playing at Wycombe. And so it's a symbiotic thing. You don't have one without the other. And I could not be more appreciative, and I've said this to you in the past, for my time at Wycombe, for the relationships I've built there. And, to be the first international full international to have represented or been at Wycombe is something I look back now, just like I said about the FA Cup 20 years later, and go, oh, that's kind of cool. You'd probably take for granted at the time. And so it's cool to be able to talk about it. And I'm really thankful that you've taken the time to give me a ring. And I'll continue to follow Wycombe and cheer for them as we go forward.
Well, Ted, it's always a pleasure to chat to you, and we'll go full circle now because we mentioned that Twitter poll at the start of this interview, and you said it was #VoteTed, and it was the Wycombe fans that got you the top spot in that Canadian footballers poll. Did you have to explain to your fellow Canadians why you're called Ted?
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've had to explain that. So we had a game show here, Phil. Have you ever heard of The Price is Right?
Oh yeah, that was a classic in the UK too.
Yeah, well, there was a guy named Bob Barker. So I always use him as an example. I'm like, Ted Rogers is like the Bob Barker of England. And he had this show called 3-2-1, and they look at me blankly because they have no idea. But needless to say, that stuck. And I blame Steve Brown for that one. But he was making, the 3-2-1 hand signal.
Yeah.
Right? I remember he was jogging behind me, and let's be honest, I had no idea who the heck Ted Rogers was, right? I just gotten off the boat. And he's doing that hand signal, so I'm throwing him the bird, you know what I mean? I'm like, Here's my hand signal back, Steve Brown. and he had a good chuckle with it, and then, of course, 5 minutes later, it's stuck, right? And it got to the point, Phil, where over there, people were going, who the hell's Mark Rogers? Like new signings. We'd be like, who's this M. Rogers on the program, right? Oh, that's Ted. And they're like, really? That's your name? It stuck, that's for sure. And then I came back to Canada, and I had to nobody knew me as Ted, except for the guys I played in Europe with, like Jason DeVos, Mark Watson, Canadians that I played against over there and with the national team. And next thing you know, everybody's calling me Ted here too. So you can tell my circle, if somebody calls me Ted here, they're part of that sort of soccer or football family. And I take it for granted now. Even I don't think my dad calls me Ted, thankfully, but I think pretty much everybody else does.
Wonderful story, and yeah, I'm not surprised that Steve Brown was at the bottom of it all. So yeah, happy times, Ted. Wonderful to speak to you, mate. I'll let you crack on now, and you can get out in the rain and watch your boy play football. And we'll speak again, no doubt, in a few more years about the FA Cup. And well, actually, we hope to see you soon at Adams Park as well.
Yeah, I will be. I'm excited. We're planning the trip, and I'll let everybody know when I'm coming.
I'm getting a voice. Spirit's very strong tonight, very strong. Hey, oh. I'm hearing the name John. Is there a John in the audience?
Ahead of the FA Cup first round draw, the Chairboys CFO, Pete Couhig, set a challenge on Twitter to predict who and where Wycombe would play in the first round. Lots of you waded in with guesses, but only one Chairboys fan predicted an away tie at Hartlepool. It was Dom Bingham, and he was rewarded with a press pass for the tie at Victoria Park. I caught up with him after the game. Right, we're in the tunnel after the FA Cup first round 2-2 draw, and we've got Dom Bingham with us, a Wycombe fan. Dom, how did you end up here today?
I actually won a prize, Phil. Pete Kuig tweeted a couple of weeks ago when the first round draw came along, who we're going to get. Whoever gets it right gets a prize. And me, studying in Newcastle, thought, been to Sunderland, haven't been to Hartlepool. We're going to say Hartlepool away. Out comes Hartlepool away. Here we are today. Pete's invited me around to be media man with Matt and Ryan and yourself, and done the match report, and yeah, loved it.
You must have been the only Wycombe fan hoping for Hartlepool away.
Yeah, it's I haven't done Hartlepool before, so it's like a doubly good day for me. It's a good ground tick as well. It's quite a obscure one that we haven't played for a while. So yeah, I was rooting for us to get Hartlepool away actually. North East links as well. My dad's from the North East, so just ticking them off slowly, around the North East. So yeah, loved it.
So from High Wycombe, studying in Newcastle, what are you studying up here?
I'm doing sport management, so I'm big into my sports media at the minute. I'm volunteering at Dunstan UTS FC, who won the Vars in 2012, so they're in the Northern Premier League East Division. So I'm doing sort of all into my sports media and interviews and match reports and all things like that. So yeah, it's just a good experience booster for me.
So one tweet and here you are covering your beloved Wycombe Wanderers. How did you find the experience today in the press box?
Yeah, it was absolutely quality. It's a lot different to Northern Premier League East Division anyway. Same concept, just a different scale. Second half was breathless, wasn't it? But yeah, it was great fighting spirit from the boys to get back into the game. I thought we were up against it at half time, and to still be in the hat, it's a decent achievement with the changes that we had to make as well.
And I take it you won't be at the replay?
Will not be at the replay. Back at Christmas in time for Ipswich away. At Sheffield later on in the month as well for Wednesday away. Just trying to get to as many as I can. It's quite a distance, so I try and do the ones sort of northern and above. But yeah, loving it.
Obviously Wycombe have got to get through that replay, but Pete Kuig's a generous man. I'm sure he will replicate this competition for the second round. So who's your guess for the second round?
I reckon the winner, I can't remember who won today, out Halifax and Maidenhead. I saw it was 6-4 with about half an hour to play. So if it's Halifax, I think we're going to get Halifax at home.
All right, you heard it here first, guys. Halifax at home.
Yeah, love it.
Well, clearly, Dom's predictive abilities have waned a little, as if Wycombe do get past Hartlepool in the replay on Tuesday, they will then travel to Lincoln City in the second round. Right, that's your lot for this week. Do hit me up on Twitter @BluntPhil and let me know the 9 other players who are full internationals whilst being a Wycombe Wanderers player. 2 of them are playing for the club now, so there's a bit of a clue as well. Right, thanks to Mark Rogers, Dom Bingham and Jason McCarthy. We'll be back soon with hopefully news of a return to winning ways for Wycombe Wanderers. Come on, you Blues.